Hi students, this is your first mini lecture. Lecture 1A will be covering about half of the material in Chapter 1. The mini lectures are meant to help you better understand, remember, connect. I'm trying to help you be more prepared for your work in this unit and also on your exam for this unit. So you are here because you've chosen the field of healthcare, and it's a great field. It is one of the largest, it is growing, it is varied, and it is fulfilling. As I move along, you'll notice that I move along rather quickly, but you please feel free to stop this video and to read the slides more thoroughly. True or false? 10 of the 20 fastest growing jobs today are in healthcare. That is true. Be sure to read the charts in the chapter and understand what they mean. Sometimes you'll see information from the charts on your exam. So, healthcare is a fulfilling profession because you are contributing to the well-being of others. That's the core mission in a way. But the work can also be very demanding, and we can't do work haphazardly. It has to be done thoughtfully and conscientiously. In fact, a good bit of this chapter is focused on thinking like a healthcare professional. This is because if we make a mistake in healthcare, the consequences can be devastating. We often talk about the essential qualities of healthcare professionals, and they're listed here. You will address them at several points during this unit. It's important that you know them, and it's important that you work toward developing them. Which of the following best demonstrates the meaning of integrity? And you are correct if you chose being honest at all times. So you're in school and you may think to yourself, well, I don't have to worry about this until later, but that is not true. It's important that you practice good workplace habits while you're in school, and they include things like caring about your classmates, being courteous, having integrity, being honest, being dependable, getting to class on time when that is happening, but doing assignments accurately and submitting them on time is something important in an online setting. Working well with others in your team project, which we'll be talking about soon, and participating in the class, such as in the discussions. You need to be flexible. We've all needed to be very flexible in this transitional period during the pandemic, and we also need to be willing to learn. Your studies and not only earning good grades, but mastering information and skills should be one of your top priorities right now. While in school, students should focus on their studies and not worry about getting along with their classmates. That is false. You need to be able to get along with others if you're going to work in most healthcare professions. So we talk about thinking, we talk about learning. Healthcare is a field where it's more than memorization. You need to understand the information. You need to understand how it can be used. You need to be able to apply the information to different situations. So when you learn, you should be using thinking questions, not just taking the content at face value, but thinking about it. Why is it important? How might I use this? How can I be more efficient? Who benefits from this? The more you think about the information, the more you'll be able to remember it and utilize it. Now, part of learning is taking good notes. And even in an online setting, it's important to take notes. You should be taking notes during your mini lectures so you can listen for clues from me, such as this is very important. You can also use some systems that help you organize, and I will show you one called the Cornell system format. In this system, you divide your page up, and you can Google this or YouTube it and find some good information. But you have a column for notes, an area at the bottom which summarizes that page of notes, and then questions on the left about that information so you can use those questions to quiz yourself. Most importantly, it's an organized system of taking notes. Organization helps you when you are studying for the exam. When you read, there's also a strategy or a number of strategies for doing that so it makes sense, so it helps you remember information. A lot of us were not taught this. We were given a big fat book and told to read it, and we stared at the pages until our eyes glazed over. But there's actually a strategy for reading, especially a textbook. You should skim the chapter first and ask yourself some questions about the content. This kind of primes your brain to then absorb the answers to those questions. You look for the answers as you read, and then you review the questions at the end without looking at the textbook. Preparing for the test does not only happen on the day before the test, or I should say the night before the test. You should really study a bit every day. And if you've taken nice organized notes, you can use that column of questions to do that. So this chapter also goes over the importance of things like volunteering. And volunteering is excellent, not only for adding to your resume, but also for developing some of those essential skills for healthcare professionals. Joining a professional organization as a student can help you network and learn more about the field that you've chosen. And on to returning adult students. Chapter 1 has a section for returning adult students. I will say that most of the information, although it does apply to students who perhaps have not been in school for a bit and come back, it really applies to everyone. So things like having to manage time are important for everybody. But let's talk about these returning adult students. They have much to offer to their classmates and to their professor because they have many life experience and skills. They bring kind of a wealth of experiences to the course, and this helps them to be more successful in the course. Now, this is something that can be a problem for many, but it's important to design a way to find the time for your studies. And that can be actually making a schedule. It can be limiting time with family members to certain hours so that you have other hours to devote to your study. Actually scheduling in not only time for study, but time for the kids and others. So other solutions are to organize your time, delegate tasks to children, spouses, partners, and ask for help when you need it. This is interesting because one of our nursing instructors, Lisa Johnson, mentions this as a great way to work when you have children. When you have children, you can actually assign them tasks to do, even the very young ones, while you're doing your homework. This is your homework. This is what you need to do while mommy does her homework. A problem for many returning adult students is finding time to study. Absolutely. So on to more thinking like a health professional, although I think we've covered this a bit already. You need to aim for understanding. If you're just memorizing words, that is not going to work. And you also need to have an approach to problem solving, applying information, relying on facts, not opinions, and creating relationships among the facts. Thinking like a healthcare worker involves looking for reliable sources of information, considering ethical principles, communicating well, and understanding your profession. And here is a problem-solving process. Anytime you see a process like this, you'll probably see some test questions. So memorize the steps, and you see them here. You have to first start out with identifying the problem. What is the third step? Create alternatives. So let's go back to identifying the problem. This is more complex and important than you may think. I often give the example, let's say a student thinks the problem is the instructor keeps giving him deductions because his work is submitted late. Okay, that's my problem. That instructor keeps giving me deductions on my work for lateness. The problem is actually your work is submitted late. So you do have to drill down and find out what the core problem is and ask yourself questions about that. You then can gather information. Now, in the case of late submissions, why am I submitting my work late? What's getting in the way of submitting my work on time? In the case of working in healthcare, we collect objective data. Objective data are those facts. We also call them signs. We also collect what is called subjective data. Those are the needs, feelings, desires, what the patient reports, which we call symptoms. A severe headache reported by a patient is a sign? No, it's a symptom. If you can't measure it, then it's a symptom. If you can measure it, such as a elevated body temperature, then it's a sign. Third step is to create some solutions, and you can create a number of them. So with regards to the late homework, you may say, well, I am going to set my iPhone to give me an alarm in the last 24 hours before the homework is due. Or I'm going to use my planner and block out time to get the homework done early in the unit. So you consider a number of different possibilities and get rid of the ones that you don't think are very, very good solutions and choose the solution that you would like to apply. Now that might sound like the end of this process, but following this, you really should revisit your decision and then determine whether that's worked for you. Okay, so thank you. That is 1A.